And let's get going with our first story.
Are you ready to become cyborg?
You are already sort of a cybernetics symbiote. Neural nets are taking over from regular programming. So you are connected.
The Philadelphia Inquirer obituaries. Klaus Krippendorf, celebrated expert on human-centered design and content analysis and Penn professor emeritus, has died at 90. I don't know if you've ever heard of Klaus Krippendorf, but he seems to have been a lot more influential than led on here. Klaus Krippendorf, 90, of Philadelphia, renowned expert on human-centered design and content analysis, Gregory Bateson Professor Emeritus of Communication at the University of Pennsylvania, lecturer, author, builder, sculptor, and activist, died Monday, October 10th, of lymphoma at the Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania. Large-minded, prolific as a researcher and author, and diverse in his many achievements, Dr. Krippendorf advanced the notion that communication, especially language, shapes reality. He connected theories of communication, design, and cybernetics, and his work influenced how countless psychologists, social scientists, designers, and advertisers communicate and create. Quote, because I could jump from one to the other discipline, that made me a productive contributor to all, he said in an oral history video for Penn. In a tribute, his family said, quote, he sought to create beauty through randomness and find the symmetry within chaos. Then he goes a little bit more into his history. He created the Krippendorf alpha, complex mathematical formula that measures the agreement among observers or instruments during statistical analysis, and became the standard of ensure reliable research. And then the thing that jumped out at me, it's not just sort of mentioning cybernetics as sort of a side note to his research and his whole, resume here. It says at the middle of the article here, it says he reviewed publications and published hundreds of his own books, chapters, papers, and articles, including the acclaimed The Semantic Turn, a New Foundation for Design in 2005. He won the 2004 International Communications Association Fellows Book Award for Content Analysis, an introduction to its methodology, and the Information Systems Division at ICA's presents the Klaus Krippendorf Book Award in his honor. He was ICA president in the 1980s and founder and member of many organizations, associations, academics, boards, and societies. He earned honorary degrees and fellowship and won numerous awards, including the 2001 Norbert Weiner Medal in Cybernetics from the American Society for Cybernetics. Norbert Weiner is the father of cybernetics. He had that book. I haven't pulled it up for today, but he has that book that has the all-seeing eye and the triangle and the pyramid, the whole deal on the cover. And talks about loops and human behavior and how you can basically the whole social media dopamine addiction that's been created in our world today through social media and all kinds of media. He sort of blueprinted that with his cybernetics research. And so for this Klaus to be winning that award, it means that he was right in line in terms of that kind of thinking. And so and it goes in, he was born in 1932, so he lived a long life. And, he'll be missed by many of his family and stuff like that. But also, celebration is scheduled for 3:30 p.m. on October 28th. So there you go. Little side 33. But the influence of cybernetics into our society is pretty palpable at this point. Again, I sound like a broken record, but 5-10 years ago, it was a little bit more controversial or just kind of just crazy talk to bring up any kind of cybernetics in main sort of conversation with your random folk on the street and things like that. But nowadays it's just more and more in our face, at least through reported media. And, there's stories like this. I'll just run through a couple of them to give an idea, sort of landscape of where cybernetics is at in popular culture. It's come a long way. And this article is from Interesting Engineering, and the headline is, an engineer produces a torch-like prosthetic for his lost eye. And we seem to be moving into a time when there's a lot of eye robot type of stuff. And so there's this guy, BS Machinist. BS Machinist, huh? Okay. So he's got this video where he, on Instagram, where he says, I lost my eye to cancer, so I turned my eye into a flashlight. I like to call it my skull lamp. and it shows him, sort of taking a selfie video in a bathroom or something with some mirrors, where his eye lights up, and yep, you can shine it on the wall. You can see where he's going, I guess. He said, it doesn't get hot, and my nose and brow line completely shields my eye from the light. So it doesn't get in his way. It's more of a literal headlight. Battery life, 20 hours of functionality as a flashlight, power source, and all hardware is safely contained within the prosthetic eye. He says he engineered and manufactured these myself from solid titanium belay. I'm now 2 years in with full-time use. It is both comfortable and functional, and it shows him reading a book in the dark, able to, and then he looking right at the camera as he looks like some angelic figure, a ball of light. So, yeah, I mean, is this science fiction? Nope. This is some dude on Instagram, and not that this dude is satanic or anything like that. Just I don't know, but in terms of where society has taken us with technology, the merging of it, here we are, just cyborg eye, just normal. It's just a matter of time before we have literal laser beams coming out of our eyeballs. So there you go. Other things happening out there. Okay. The New Scientist here has an article. Chip can transmit all of the internet's traffic every second. All of the internet's traffic every second. This new chip. So yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but it says here a single computer chip has transmitted a record 1.84 petabits of data per second via a fiber optic cable, enough bandwidth to download 230 million photographs in that time, in 1 second, and more traffic than travels through the entire internet's backbone network per second. Whoa, that is crazy. Then it goes into the team that did it from Denmark. It says first, the team split the data stream into 37 sections, each of which was sent down a separate core of the fiber optic cable. Next, each of these channels was split into 223 data chunks that existed in individual slices of the electromagnetic spectrum. So yeah, they channeled it through different shades of light, and they split it up into 223 data chunks, which is an interesting number because we have somebody on a streak. That's 223 today, but also the longest streak, that is. But also, of course, 322 backwards, 322 being the strange number that the secret society, Skull and Bones over at Yale University, seem to reference as some sort of important number. So there you go. That's kind of strange as well. But yeah, something to keep in mind. They got microchips that can channel the entire internet's worth of information in 1 second, which means our throughput is expanding, and it's happening through the light spectrum, which, talk about angel of light. Another article along these lines. See what we're doing on time here. We're good. Algorithm. This is dailymail.co.uk. Algorithm lets scientists read your thoughts by decoding brain scans and could help people who can't speak communicate with the world. Now, the irony is that our very own co-host here, Basil, is unable to speak because he's lost his voice. I told him maybe we do like a ASMR version of the show or something. Just come on and just whisper when you want to say something. But he had other things he had to do. But he could use this. Hey, instead of scientist, let's replace this scientist with Gons. So I'll reread the title. Algorithm lets Gons read Basil's thoughts by decoding brain scans and could help people who can't speak communicate with the world. I think that's a good idea. Who is this company? Let's get a demo going where I get to experiment this stuff on my co-host's brain who lost his voice from too much, it's too much something in the air. Scientists can now read your thoughts using an AI-powered model that is specifically designed to decode brain scans. The non-invasive breakthrough developed by the University of Texas could help those who are unable to speak or type to communicate for the first time. The method, however, does decode language in real time. So we've seen a lot of these theorized, but I think that the progress and the commercialization of the technology is really going to become to the forefront here, and we'll see a whole I don't know if it's a class. A class might be too much, or just, I don't know, a group of people that will have issues, whether it's eye cancer or some kind of health challenge, and they're going to be enhanced or restored with these sort of technologies that are being unleashed. And that will create a whole set of progressive politics and everything else, socially and otherwise, which sounds very end timesy, the whole iron mixed with Myra Clay thing, which I'll talk about in a second. But this merge, if it wasn't for, obviously the word of God tells us that this is going down, or this type of thing. It alludes to it. It's not maybe a specific thing that says, hey, for sure this translation means this, but there seems to be just things that suggest it. And then you look at what a lot of the elite folks are trying to do, and you kind of put two and two together, and it starts to make sense. And I just wanted to point this out, the idea of cyborganic or cyborganics, which is the merging of cybernetics and organic material. This is the advancedsciencenews.com. It's an article from November of 2019, so 3 years old. And the article is titled "The Promise of Cyborganic Beings." And not strangely enough, at the very top of the article is a big header of Prometheus from the, I think it's the Rockefeller Center. That statue, that bronze statue that's sort of flying on its side and holding a flame, and it's Prometheus. Yeah. And so that would make sense that they're sort of trying to push this idea of immortality in that sense. And the article, don't want to spend too much time on it, but let's just go right to the chase where I have stuff highlighted. Talks about the dawn of cyborganics when Manfred Clynes and Nathan S. Klein termed cyborg to conceptualize self-regulating extraterrestrial humans in 1960. They would have hardly envisioned the fast track toward human-machine symbiosis with increasing level of sophistication wherein medical biomaterial prosthesis replace missing organs and revive impaired senses, which is sort of what we were talking about earlier. More recently, this beautiful marriage, interesting language. This beautiful marriage between living matter and intelligent materials is anticipated to offer the prospect of, quote, hybrid living inanimate systems that would have been mind-boggling just decades ago. These so-called cyborganic systems are bolstered by advances in cybernetics, cyborganics, and bioelectronics, and represent a gateway to a brave new world in which programmed tissues and biomaterial-like machineries can unite to serve as a wall of protection against age-related diseases. We believe that these systems possess the ability to hack human biology beyond the limits of known territories and into uncharted realms. I mean, come on. They're just straight up using, I don't know, they're tiptoeing around this idea that this is more than just a simple, fun technology thing. And so when they start using language like this, it does spark some thought about passages in the Bible that I bring up all the time, but just worth bringing up. Daniel 2, which is, Nebuchadnezzar in his dream, and he sees the fourth kingdom, and starting in verse 40, as strong as iron, for iron shatters and crushes all things, and like iron that crushes all things, it will shatter and crush all the others. So it's sort of a one world type of situation. Verse 41, and just as you saw the feet and toes were made partly of fire, clay, and partly of iron, so this will be a divided kingdom, yet some of the strength of iron will be in it, just as you saw the iron mixed with clay. And as the toes of the feet were partly iron and partly clay, so this kingdom will be partly strong and partly brittle. As you saw the iron mixed with clay, so the peoples will mix with one another, but will not hold together any more than iron mixes with clay. So, I know that the standard commentary on this passage is about ancient Rome and sort of the weakening and the downfall of ancient Rome. And certainly that I actually think that there is a lot of correlation there. And just, you read it, you see it happen. It was written before it happened. It pretty much played out this way. But also the allegorical or just sort of the linguistic poetic way in which, marriage is sort of referenced. And the people will mix like iron and clay, but they won't cleave to one another, or in this translation, won't hold together. That is sort of what we're talking about when it comes to this idea of cyborganics and this beautiful marriage between living matter and intelligent materials. And the progress, going back to that Advanced Science News article, 2012 was when Harvard University led a successful merger between electronic components and living tissues. The concept was termed cyborg tissue and created a media frenzy that sparked a wave of excitement regarding the prospect of regenerative medicine. In simple terms, a group of scientists propitiously developed a bioactive 3D microenvironment able to electrically probe various important psychico-chemical and biological events through its porous interior. So, okay. Basically, you can read the rest of it. It's a very detailed description of everything. But yeah, they sort of just mixed the biomaterial with these nano wires, and they saw it sort of interface, which is kind of, obviously what we've been talking about this whole time. They sort of look like they're going to work together, but we'll see if it lasts. It'll mingle, but it won't cleave. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just a crazy person talking on the internet here to a machine version of my co-host. Basil, how are you doing in your form? Oh, by the way, let's see. Where are you? Oh, one of the things that's interesting about this new world order thing we're living in is obviously gender dysphoria. You can call it. You get confused about gender, and online technology, robo-Borg, that's not going to help, because sometimes Basil, if he's trying to tell us something, it might come through in a different accent, different culture, different gender, so let's see. Basil, is that you over there?
It's me. Dazaru, dazaru, bazaru.
I see. I don't know why Basil sounds like Kyoko, the Japanese American robot lady, but this is what happens. There's things to be worked out, I guess, in this system. I don't know, folks. I don't know what's happening